guys, Dave here, Dave's LFC Chats. I've got a really special guest for you today, a legend of Anfield, George Sephton, aka the voice of Anfield. Welcome, George.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. I say you've done a few shows now. You're becoming a super celebrity now.
People, I'm a legend. That means I'm old.
You're a young legend. But obviously, you're a huge Liverpool fan yourself. You're a big Liverpool fan at the end of the day, aren't you?
Absolutely. People keep forgetting that. I keep saying that when it gets down to it, I'm a Liverpool fan. So when we're losing, I feel it. And when we're winning, I'm as ecstatic as anybody.
Yeah. So like that's people just think you do the job like sorry, go ahead.
People hear my voice on the PA and what somebody called me soothing the other day, and it's not meant to be like that. I do get hysterical sometimes, but I feel the pain when there is pain.
You could probably put people asleep. You could probably do one of those videos, the soothing music that That'd be a good job for you. Make a few quid doing that, George.
You're a lot of commission.
But we'll start with 1971, I think, is the year where all this started, if I'm correct. And you started in, I think it was Kevin Keegan's debut against Nottingham Forest at Anfield. Is that correct? That was the first game you actually did PA for, was it?
Yeah.
And what was that like? I mean, that must have been like dreamland, was it?
Well, it was very nerve-wracking to start with. Obviously, it's all great in theory. When I turned up to Anfield with a big bag of records and I got all the way up to the TV gantry, I sort of looked around at the size of the place and all the people. I thought, what am I doing here? And I just froze for a minute and I thought, well, I've either got to grit my teeth and get on with this, or go home and pack a bag and go abroad for a few years because nobody would speak to me ever again. So I took a deep breath and I got on with it. It's like the cup final. Once you kick off, it's fine. And obviously I got stuck in, and we had a good win, and we had Kevin to see, and it was all good fun. And all of a sudden, I'm part of the furniture. It just the weirdest thing was actually going through the front door instead of having to queue up at the gate. That was strange. That was just unbelievable. It's like, going through the wardrobes of Narnia. You've got no idea what goes on inside that place. Here I am.
Yeah. What goes on behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. Is that right, George?
That's right, yeah.
But, I mean, we're nearly 50 years now. I mean, 50 years next year. I mean, you would not have thought 50 years later you'd be like, there's no chance, is there?
Absolutely not. I mean, I remember at the end of the first season going in to see the boss, Peter Robinson, and trying to get some idea from him. Did he want me back in August? And eventually he said, oh, yeah, you're part of the furniture now. And that was it. I mean, in theory, I'm still on trial. I still haven't got the job full time, but I'm still I think I've got the hang of it by now, but it'll all change.
I was reading somewhere, I seen a paragraph in somewhere, I think it was the Liverpool Echo, mentioning that Kenny Dalglish quoted saying something that you were part of the fabric of the club.
That's right. I mean, that was my 65th birthday, which is 9.5 years ago.
Wow.
That's worrying. I was out with my wife for a meal with my daughter and my son-in-law. And my phone started pinging all of a sudden. It was going mad, and I was trying not to read all these texts while we were out having a family meal. But when I got round to it, all these messages said, wasn't it lovely what Kenny said on LFC TV? And I was thinking, what are they going on about? I'm out, I'm not at home. I went home and looked, and it was Claire Rourke doing a weekly interview with Kenny.
Yeah.
And she said, last question, have you got a message for George Sephton, who turns 65 today? He said, yeah, he's part of the history and traditions of this club.
Wow.
It'd be more relevant if he left than if I left. And I watched this about 4 or 5 times, and I called my wife in and said, watch this, will you? I just couldn't believe what I was watching. And I remember saying, take me outside and shoot me now, because life is better than Kenny Dalglish saying things like that about you.
Does it get any better than that?
It does, but I'll talk about that later. Go on.
I mean, I don't know where to start. As you said, 1971. I mean, Liverpool, a lot of the younger generation don't realise that Liverpool in the 70s and 80s were the team. Like, all the kids now, United were the big team, and they forget that Liverpool were the team. There was no other team. That was it. I mean, I started following Liverpool around 83, 84 season. I was about 10 years old.
Around then, you wonder how anybody ever beat Liverpool.
Yeah.
I always tell people the same story. I think it was summer of 84, August, when we came back to Anfield. The atmosphere at the ground was very quiet. And I was thinking, what's wrong? We've just won the European Cup and all the rest of it. And I remember saying to somebody afterwards, I know what's going on. People have turned up today, but we won so much. It's like going to see The Mousetrap 100 times. You know what happens at the end, and the excitement and the mystery's gone. And I think that was it. People were thinking, well, what can we do to top that? Because that season, 84-85, went downhill. It ended up Heysel. We got kicked out of Europe. Everton got kicked out of Europe. The whole thing went to bits. Although we won the double in 1986, which was something then. I mean, it's not such a big deal to win the FA Cup and the league at the same time.
Yeah.
In those days, it was still a major achievement.
For me, when I was a kid growing up, even in Ireland here, the FA Cup was huge in the 80s. Even in the early 90s. I mean, the FA Cup we used to watch it on a Saturday as kids, like you did, like the kids in England did. The big build-up, the huge build-up.
That was the thing. You used to get up. You didn't go out on Cup final day. You had your breakfast, and you sat there and watched all the comings and goings and the interviews, and followed the teams from the hotel and their coach. The whole thing. It was a wonderful, wonderful day, and that seems to have died away now. It's completely different. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
I'm going to just close a window here. I can hear a humming noise. Hold on. Yeah, that's the humming noise. Knew it. Horrible humming noise. I could hear it in the background.
Yeah, I must tell you, I did an interview on Radio Merseyside last week, and halfway through the interview, my wife had forgot to turn the grill downstairs, so all the smoke alarms came on. It was fun.
That's what happens when you're doing live chats. Anything's possible, as we say. But we get back into Liverpool. So obviously the 70s, football's so different nowadays, as you've seen all the decades, the changes in football. Footballers now are real celebrities at the end of the day, aren't they? I mean, it wasn't like that really in the 70s and 80s.
It was getting that way. Things changed in football in the mid to late 60s when George Best was around, because he was, they called him the fifth Beatle and all that sort of thing. And he was the first footballer who sort of swapped over into the realms of pop stars and things, and he, the gossip in the newspapers, all that sort of thing. And then, of course, Kevin Keegan was our version of George Best. Although Kevin's a much, I'm trying to think of a good word. He's a much more level-headed bloke than George Best. George Best was supremely talented, but obviously, one way or the other, he threw it all away, and he could have done an awful lot more with his life. But it's so sad, but such is life.
Yeah. But like, as I just said, the kids now don't realise that Liverpool 70s and 80s, you've seen it all. I'd say the games you've seen at Anfield. I mean, I'd seen an interview you did where certain games stick out as in life, but your favourite game, I think, was the Champions League 2005 semi against Chelsea. Is that correct?
It was until we thrashed Barcelona last year.
4-0.
it's got better over the years. In '77, the match against Saint Etienne, when we were on our way out of the European Cup, that was a special, special night.
Yeah.
Um, then obviously work your way through that semi against Chelsea was fantastic. The whole thing, the way it was set up, the added time at the end, the 6 minutes added time, and then we got through. We scraped home and
Yeah.
obviously went on to Istanbul. But then people forget, I think, when we beat Borussia Dortmund a couple of years ago in the Europa League, it was a fantastic night. Again, another great comeback when we thought we were on our way out.
Yeah.
Barcelona. It just.
It has to, as you just said. I mean, you've been in that ground for 50 years. That Barcelona game for me is possibly, now I'm following them 30 years, so for me it's probably the best game I've ever seen Liverpool ever.
For various reasons. I said to somebody earlier today, if you'd written that for a boys' comic, they would have said you'd been drinking. It was just so ridiculous. Barcelona turned up, were 3-0 down. They were the best team in the world at the time. That we're 3-0 down. We've lost two of our star players.
Yeah.
And they've got no chance of doing anything. And people turned up, I think, just to enjoy watching a good game of football. And, it's nice to see Messi in action. It's one of those people you tell your grandkids, I saw Lionel Messi.
Wow.
And then we scored early on, and you're thinking, well, that's nice. We got a goal back. Got to half time, we're still in the same boat. Just after half time, Gini scores a couple of goals and we're level. And you're thinking, hang on, we're level, we've got a chance here, we're in it, we're in this. We're dead level. And then, of course, that corner from Trent Alexander-Arnold. I still think about that now. Whenever I'm fed up, I just get on my PC and watch the video of that.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it up. Obviously, I was the opposite corner, above the opposite corner in my little room. And I was watching Trent wandering away and thinking nothing of it. And all of a sudden, he's like a yo-yo. He's back. And the ball's flying over to my side of the pitch. And it's collided with Divock Origi. And it's in the back of the net. And I was sitting there waiting for the referee to blow it. And they take that again.
Yeah.
And he's not. And then I realised there was only me, Divock, and Trent who were awake. Plus, of course, the ball boy, Oakley Cannonier, that lad.
Yeah.
He's on our books now, I believe, but he took a full part in that. He was so quick, so intelligent. The way he picked that ball up, got into Trent in one move, no messing around. Trent flummoxed everybody walking away. Everybody relaxes, and he turned around and he could see Divock in the distance. And Divock was the only one who was looking what was going on. Bang. And then at the end, of course, I put on You Never Walk Alone. I very rarely put that on at the end of a game, but then, the squad came and lined up and joined in. That was the most magical moment, in my 50 years.
Were you looking right down on them, right?
I'm at right angles to the goal line on the Kop end, or give or take a couple of feet. So I'm looking down and I could, just a nice angle to see them all. And it was fantastic. And then, of course, it finishes. The team waved a good night, it's off to go, and nobody's moving on the Kop. And I just look around for something else to play because I'd run out of music on my memory stick. And then the first thing looking at me was John Lennon's Greatest Hits. So I banged that on, Imagine. The whole crowd joined in. I thought they'd just wander off. No, they didn't. They stopped and just raised their scarves above their heads and joined in. It was amazing. And just sorry that the cameras weren't still rolling there. But for days after that, I was getting messages from people. My favourite was a guy in Sydney. He said he was up. Can you imagine how early he was up in Sydney to go?
Yeah.
He was at Sydney Casino. The room was full of these big, strong, hairy Australian sheep farmers, and they were all in floods of tears. He said they're all singing Imagine. tops of their voices. And then, of course, the killer was that Piers Morgan called me a genius on live TV the following morning. I thought, I don't like that.
Oh my God, Piers Morgan. Well, that was your one. Well, I think Kenny Dalglish. I think I like Kenny Dalglish more than Piers Morgan anyway. But
absolutely.
But
Kenny's daughter Kelly said to me, well, no, it wasn't Kelly. I'm telling a lot. A friend of mine who presents the evening news in Granada, which is ITV in the northwest.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
And she said, "You're worth 100 Piers Morgan, George." I thought, well, that's nice. You know, again, I love that. It's just lovely when you hear things like that. I'm sure Piers wouldn't agree. I must tell you a funny story about Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
When Ken Dodd turned 90, his PR man got onto me and he wanted me to get hold of some of the older footballers to make a video for Ken's birthday. And he said, "Oh, would you like to do a little clip as well, George?" I said to me, "Well, this is going on the cutting room floor. He's just trying to keep me sweet." But the day after Ken's birthday party, I started getting messages. That was really funny what he said last night. One of Ken's scriptwriters emailed me, a guy called John Martin. He said, "You got some laughs last night, George." He said, "To be honest, you got far too many bloody laughs for my liking." And I said to me, "Well, they must have used it." So I got a copy of this video. And I was on just after Piers Morgan. And I showed my son, and he said, "Piers Morgan's had a funny old week." He said, "Last weekend he was interviewing Donald Trump. Tonight he's your warm-up man."
Yeah.
Keep that too. Yeah.
Oh my God. Piers Morgan's an Arsenal fan, I think. Big Arsenal fan, isn't he?
Yes. I thought you were going to say something else then.
I meant that too. But the other thing is as well, you do DJ like music. You control the music you play at Anfield.
I do. And
wow.
We've had a bit of hassle during the closed doors games where somebody suggested that we should use a couple of the players' favourite tracks to warm up to, seeing as there's nobody else in the ground.
Yeah.
And it sort of got out of hand to the stage where I was playing nothing but the players' choices for 3/4 of an hour. So I gave up in the end, but I'm not worrying until we get back to the full stadium in the new season and things get back to normal. Hopefully that will do it. But I know people are still surprised that I get all this music together. I said, well, I'm not completely geriatric yet, and I've got a long history of listening to music going back, obviously to, well, I'll put it this way: when I was 11, 12, that sort of age, lunchtime at school, the rule was that if it was raining outside, you couldn't go and play at the playground.
Yeah.
We went inside, got the book, and sat in the big hall. My mate and I were rebels. We didn't get the book and sit in the hall. We sneaked down to the basement in some of the science lecture rooms and used to listen to these big boys practicing chords on their guitars. One was called George Harrison. The other one was called Paul McCartney. So that gave me an insight, and that's why to this day I play an awful lot of stuff.
Wow.
Local bands, because I know they've all got to start somewhere. There's a few bands that I've given their first big airing to, like people like the Coral, the Zootons, that sort of, I was getting their demo records before they ever got big anywhere, and I'm very proud of that, and I still try to encourage them along now, and certainly local talent.
Brilliant. What do you think of Jamie Webster?
Oh, he's brilliant. I mean, I've saw Jamie, I think it was just before lockdown started, we've done a couple of podcasts together. He's doing so well. He's hit the nail on the head all over Liverpool. The way he's come through. He's been very lucky. well, no, he's not been lucky. He's been fortunate that he's been
Yeah.
in the right place at the right time, and he's latched on to the songs, and he can play and sing. I'm looking forward to his first album due out soon. I'm not sure what date now because it was put back because of the virus, obviously. But um, I know you know, Jamie and I are what you might call a mutual admiration society, and I'm so pleased for the lad. You know, last year before Corona, he was touring in Australia. For goodness sake, um, if you'd asked him 5 years ago, was he going to be doing that? He would have looked at you as if you were crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
He's part of the scene. He is part of the scene now.
What happened was he took off at a perfect time when Liverpool took off, when Klopp came in 2015. Before we go, we're going to have a quick word about Klopp and this current crop of players. Well, I mean, you've seen all the good teams. You've seen the 70s, 80s, 90s. This actual group and Klopp must be up there. Must be up somewhere. Where do you think?
And obviously, it's very difficult to you have to compare like with like, but I couldn't imagine any of the previous teams getting near this lot. This lot got the benefit of all the nutritionists, the sports scientists, whatever. People would argue against that, but back in the 70s, that nobody had these sports scientists and dietitians. It was Arsene Wenger, I think, at Arsenal who started all that.
Yeah.
But you watch this lot, and they're so fast and they're so together. And the secret is, I know they're a team of stars, but there are no stars in the team. They're a proper team, just like the 80s lads were.
Correct.
No backbiting and bitching, and there's no gossip in the papers, that sort of thing. And that's all down to Jurgen. If anybody turns up and starts causing trouble, the door is over there, mate. Off you go. And that's what I'm now causing. When there are big players coming up for transfers and whatever, we're always mentioned in the big leagues as we are the go-to club now, and we pick and choose who come to us. Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is falling together, and the way he's got the squad, people are on the bench and they're not going screaming to the papers, I want to be playing full time or I'm out of it. None of that. They're just such a happy crew. As I say, nowadays you can go around, you can see the 80s lad, Jan Mulby, Ronnie Whelan, Phil Neal, that mob. They're all still pals. They all socialise together, and the ones that didn't start out life round here, they still live round here. And they think of themselves as adopted Scousers. And when they use the word "we," they mean Liverpool, even though none of them are real Scousers. It's fantastic.
That's I think what makes Liverpool and Anfield and Liverpool, the group, the team, so unique. It's unusual. I mean, the city, Liverpool itself, I've been in, last time I was in Liverpool was in October. I was actually at the Leicester City game, Milner last minute penalty.
Yeah.
And I just think Liverpool itself, I mean, I could go over to Liverpool and stand outside the stadium even without a ticket and I'd feel, it's the whole atmosphere of the city itself.
I keep saying to people, I have done for years, you've got no idea what it's like until you've actually been there. I know people who once they've been to one game, they're hooked. There's no other word for it. They're fans for life. They want to go anywhere else. The atmosphere, everything falls into place. The stewards are friendly, the people are friendly, and all the bars round about. It's like the United Nations now. I mean, we've always had an Irish contingent.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you know yourself that the history of Liverpool, crisscrosses with the history of Ireland and for all sorts of reasons.
Well, Dublin and Liverpool were like sister port cities, weren't they?
That's right, yeah. But nowadays we've got we've got thousands upon thousands of Scandinavians, Germans.
Yeah.
Now it's the Far East and Australia. And I mean, I had to go and speak to a meeting of the German Reds There's about 150 of them in the sand, and this is a couple of years ago. And I said to my wife, "What on earth am I going to say to the Germans?" You know, when I was born, we'd just finished, bombing each other, and I just took a deep breath and I said, "How nice it is,
Yeah.
after all these years, to see you guys as part of the Liverpool family." And that's the way it is. I mean, um, I've done so many interviews for German TV the last couple
Wow.
of years, and I was actually in a German full-length film about the history of "You Never Walk Alone," which if you haven't seen, you really ought to get hold of. It's only available on Amazon Germany. It's called
Wow.
"You Never Walk Alone." It's subtitled, obviously, but I'm in there. Jerry's in there. Jürgen's in there, and the narrator, who is a very famous actor in Germany, and a guy called Campino, he's the lead singer of a band called Der Totenhosen, that were huge over in Germany. But he's a big fan of mine. I've been coming to Liverpool for years. Friend of Jürgen. Earlier this year, I actually met up with him for the first time. We had a quiet drink in Liverpool, and then chatting away for hours on end. And he was so pleased to meet me.
Wow.
And he was so pleased to be in Liverpool. And the other thing was he was pleased to be able to go out for a drink, because he can't leave his house in Germany. He gets mobbed everywhere he goes.
Oh, is he that famous? Is he?
He is. For some reason he's huge in South America as well. I haven't quite worked that one out yet. But he is a lovely bloke. But there are so many Germans who are friends of Liverpool. There's a cluster, big cluster in Mönchengladbach, and there's a few others around the place. But we've got a German hotel in Anfield Road now, and a couple of doors up from the Norwegian hotel.
Up from Hotel Tia.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
the hotel. Well, the Hotel Tia is my second home.
Well, I actually know Ragnald.
Oh well, yeah. Ragnhild I've known for donkeys. Yeah. It was Taggy who.
Paggy with the beard. Paggy with the beard.
Oh God, I believe he's about to have it shaved off for some
Oh.
charity or other. But I saw a picture of him a couple of days ago. He's back home in Norway at the moment. All the Norwegians have gone home for for a break, but he still had the beard on. But he didn't. You wouldn't have to hear him speak to know he was a Viking, basically. When you see him, but lovely bloke. I mean, they've done so well with that place. But I remember going in the hotel tier when they just bought the building, and it was horrendous. I was introduced to their architect, but he was sat behind the table in the main lounge. But there were no floors. You had to sort of tiptoe across the joist and making sure he didn't fall through. It was amazing. And now you look at the place, and it's amazing. And the way they've come on, they've got this huge beer garden.
Yeah, Carlsberg, I think. Carlsberg Beer Garden it is.
I don't know what it's.
Yeah.
You won't believe this, and I don't drink, so I'm not. The goal goes above my head. And I'm a Diet Coke man, sadly. But
I'll buy you a Diet Coke if I see you in Liverpool, George. Don't worry.
Yes. Pint of it, no ice.
Shaken, not stirred, is it?
Oh no, just pour it out.
But no, and the other thing they did in Hotel Tia, which I think is brilliant, they have all the jerseys, the original stuff, right. I actually met Phil Neal in there.
Oh yeah,
and he was, oh wow.
Phil Neal is the guy I know best of the old Liverpool team for all sorts of reasons. I've been to tour Norway with Phil a few times. He and I went to Tenerife 3 summers ago to visit supporters, and about 200 yards from where I'm sitting is a house occupied by his son Ashley and his family.
Wow.
Ashley used to play against one of my lads when they were junior footballers, and so I've known him since he was, that high. And when Phil was managing Bolton, I used to send a lot of kids from our local leagues up to Bolton rather than send them to the 2 big clubs in the city, because I thought, there was just so much talent coming through Liverpool. I thought they'd have a better chance of that. And Phil was really pleased. I know I see him around the place quite a lot, and he's a lovely bloke.
Yeah. No, no, I was talking to him. He is a nice photograph of him in Hotel Tia. But
Yeah, yeah.
in Hotel Tia, though, those jerseys that are in the wall, some of the old Anfield, the hoardings, the
Oh,
door
that's
all
right.
signed.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I know
really a
when
top job.
yeah when they opened the new stand, you know, probably know they had an auction of bits from the old main stand.
Yeah, yeah,
Taggy was down there with his checkbook, and it's all over the place. Even the bar is used to
yeah.
be a crush barrier on the cop. It's amazing, but
Brilliant.
just the atmosphere in the place, and I know I always feel so welcome. I actually did the disco at Taggy's wedding in 2008. You know, I went all the way to Floro to do a wedding disco. You know, it took me 3 days or the day,
Oh my God.
day for the
In
wedding.
Norway.
Eh?
In Norway.
Norway. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It's a beautiful part of the world he comes from, but it's a beggar to get at. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
Um, and KLM lost 150 CDs on my way. They had a big bag full of CDs for, you know, you imagine how many CDs I had to take to do a wedding,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
disappeared. We found it just in time, thank God. But I was wandering around Fleur, which is where Taggy comes from, and there's one shop in the town that sells music, and it's got about 8 CDs of Norwegian folk music. I thought, this is not going to go well, but anyway, we got away with it.
Wow. I'll tell you, I could talk to you all day, for God's sake. The amount of stuff
No,
you know is just wow. But just before we go, George,
yeah,
you're working on a new book coming
yes,
out soon.
it'll be out in hardback hopefully next May. Um, I just got my first royalty check advanced today, which was lovely. So I've had a
Woo!
good day from the time I climbed out of bed today. The manuscript is actually behind your face on my screen, and I'm just doing a bit of tidying up. The editor for the publisher's been through it once. He's got to go through it again. That'll be finished, ready by the end of this month. Hardback next May, and paperback for Christmas next year, 21. I'm really pleased. Kenny has written the forward to it.
Wow!
Exactly. Wow. And
Wow!
Elvis Costello has written some stuff for the sleeve.
My God!
Really pleased about. I said to Elvis, I said, I'm annoyed because the stuff you've written for the sleeve is actually funnier than what's in the book. So if you like to do another few thousand words, I'll just scrap what I've done and, you know, plug yours as well. But,
He's a huge Liverpool fan, isn't he, Elvis Costello?
he is. He has been all, you know, he's a born and bred Scouser. People forget he's been around so long. But I know I used to see him around and about a lot, and he's bosom pals with the guy who runs the museum at Liverpool, Steve Doan. And Elvis, I didn't see Elvis for a while. I saw him 3 times in a week in 2001. Once in Liverpool, launch of a CD. A couple of days later in Cardiff at the cup final against Arsenal. 4 or 5 days later in Dortmund, Dusseldorf. We were at the airport coming home from the UEFA Cup final. Didn't
Oh
see him
yeah.
for a while. Then 18 months ago, I was just getting to Anfield for a match against Red Star in the
Yeah, Champions League.
and parked my car, turned the engine off, and my phone goes, and it was Elvis's manager. He said, "Oh yeah, George, I'm bringing Elvis tonight. I wonder if you could play one of his tracks." And I said, "Well, if you told me before I left home, I would have grabbed my Elvis Costello greatest hits and brought it with me. I can't help you." And he said, "No, that's all right. I've got his new CD here. Where are you?" So I said, "I'm by the Shankly Gate." So he comes round, gives me this CD. Lo and behold, Elvis turns up, signs the CD, and then we had a good long chin wag. In fact, I was late getting into the ground. So I phoned up. I said, "Look, I'm sorry, I'm outside talking to Elvis Costello. You'll have to wait, you know." But I had a good old talk. And the thing about Elvis is the two things. I'm old enough to remember his dad singing with the big band on the TV in the 50s.
Wow.
Well, that shocked him. And I said, "No, honestly, I used to, you know, watch him every week."
And the other thing, I'm a big fan of Elvis's wife, Diana Krall. I don't know if the name rings any bells with you.
No.
She's huge in America and Canada. She's Canadian. And one of my old school friends used to live in the same town that Diana comes from. And he used to tell me years ago about there's this girl playing piano in the bar downtown. She's great. You'll have to keep your ears peeled for her. And then, I saw her on TV one night and I was hooked. And I've got a lot of CDs and videos and things. And I said to Elvis that night, for 2 years after he married her, I was bringing one of her CDs with me to Anfield in the hope that she'd turn up and sign it for me. And he thought it was hilarious. But the following game, he brought her, and I got to meet the woman. And it was one of the great nights of my life. I mean, she hadn't come to the Red Star game because she was touring in America with Tony Bennett. They'd just done an album together. She's that level. She used
Wow.
it. And then last August, Elvis turned 65 on the day of the Arsenal game. I got on to Peter Moore, and on the day of his birthday, Peter entertained Elvis, Diana, and their two twin boys. Really laid it on. They gave him the biggest birthday cake I've ever seen, gave him the signed shirt and a frame, took him on the pitch, put them in the front row of the director's box. And after the game, I was in my car and I texted his manager. I said, "Are you still talking to Peter?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll be here a while yet." I said, "Okay, well, I'll go home. I'll see you next time." And I got a text. He said, "Diana wants to see you."
Oh.
Forget tea, going home. And I got in the boardroom. I'm not supposed to go in the boardroom. My pass doesn't let me in there. I just went barging in. Bumped into Virgil in the lift on the way up. That was just surreal. But I went in and Diana throws her arms around me and said, "Oh, thank you so much for this." And then Elvis comes over, shakes my hand, gives me a big slap on the back. "Thank you so much." I said, "That's great. I've put something back." And I said to my wife, two people I think are wonderful. Now they think I'm wonderful too. I can die happy now.
That sounds like that was your dream come true, George, was it?
I mean,
yeah.
People say don't meet your heroes, but I've met nearly all of mine one by one. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the best part of the job, the people you meet.
Yeah.
There's people I've met over the years. There's people whose phone numbers I've got on that phone. I never expected, ever to see in the distance. Never mind, be friends with. It's fabulous.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you obviously love the job.
Absolutely.
So I know with people who, if you can love your job and do your job and love it at the same time and enjoy it, there's nothing better to be doing, is there?
Oh, absolutely. No, I count my lucky stars. I just, people have been asking me lately, "When are you jacking it in?" I said, "Well, I've got to get through 50 seasons. I wouldn't, unless, it's Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday, isn't it? So if I win the lottery this week, I might change my mind. But I want to get through next season and just see how things are. Obviously, there are changes at the top coming up. I'm getting older. Who knows? They might say, "Forget this. You had enough. Off you go." And I might, at the end of next season, think, "Right, I'm exhausted now. Let's go and put my feet up." But then I'm thinking they're going to expand the Anfield Road end.
Yeah.
Really like to have a go at Anfield when there's 63,000 people in there. But I'll say what I've said to everybody: I'm not going to make any decisions until this time. Well, May next year.
Yeah.
See how I feel then. Sleep on it, all the rest of it, and then take it from there. And, see what happens. What did Lennon say? Life is what happens when you're making other plans. That's what I like at the moment.
Right, George, I'll tell you what, that was unbelievable. That was memory lane. It was just, that's what I like. That's the thing I like about Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
There's similar to the Irish, there's always a story there. There's always a memory and experience. And that's what Liverpool is for me.
Yeah, and mine will all be in the book.
And your book. And don't let me know when the book is out, because we might even do a video. We might even do another video about it.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah. All right, George. Thank you very much. I'll upload this later on my YouTube channel. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure has been all mine, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.